The Galactic Council chamber was a place of grandeur, its domed ceiling projecting a view of the vast cosmos. Representatives of dozens of species sat in concentric tiers, their voices a low murmur of argument and debate. At the center of the chamber, Earth's ambassador, Grant Hayes, stood tall, his sharp suit and stern expression contrasting with the flowing robes and intricate attire of the other delegates. The Zrill Dominion has violated every principle of this council, Hayes declared, his voice firm. They've annexed 3 neutral worlds and deployed a fleet large enough to threaten even your core systems. If we don't act now, this council will be remembered as a monument to inaction. A ripple of discontent passed through the chamber. High Chancellor Vorix, a towering being with crystalline skin that shimmered under the chamber's light, raised a spindly hand to quiet the assembly. Ambassador Hayes, Vorix said, his voice a calm hum, we appreciate Earth's concern, but the Dominion is a seasoned force. You speak of military intervention, yet Earth has only recently achieved interstellar capabilities. Do you truly believe your people are prepared for the consequences of open conflict? Hayes's jaw tightened, but he forced a diplomatic smile. Earth may be young by your standards, Chancellor, but we've learned quickly. We're not proposing rash action. We're offering to assist in a targeted defense. Humanity will not stand idle while innocents suffer. From the far side of the chamber, a hiss of laughter echoed. Ambassador Threll of the Kaivax, a reptilian species known for their condescension, leaned forward. Your targeted defense is an act of arrogance. Humanity has no grasp of what it means to wage war on this scale. Your children playing with fire. Laughter rippled through some of the delegations, though others shifted uncomfortably. Hayes remained composed. Ambassador Threll, he replied, underestimating humanity has been a common mistake. But let me assure you, Earth doesn't start fights we can't finish. The room quieted, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Vorix sighed, his crystalline form dimming slightly. The council will deliberate. For now, no action will be taken. This body exists to preserve peace, not escalate hostilities. Hayes's face remained neutral, but his clenched fists betrayed his frustration. Understood, Chancellor. Later, aboard the Earth battleship Erebus, Captain Adrian Carter watched the council proceedings replay on a holographic screen in her private quarters. Hayes's measured words resonated, but the council's dismissal burned. Carter was a seasoned officer with sharp features and piercing green eyes that could command a room. The Erebus was her ship, Earth's pride and humanity's most advanced war machine. It had taken years of clandestine development, blending Earth's ingenuity with salvaged alien technology. The ship's AI, Prometheus, interrupted her thoughts. His voice was smooth and precise. Captain, Ambassador Hayes has requested a secure transmission. Patch him through, Carter said, straightening her uniform. Hayes's face appeared on the screen, his frustration barely concealed. Captain, the council has decided to do nothing. As expected, Carter nodded. They're afraid of the Zrill. And of us. Exactly. Which is why we're taking matters into our own hands. The Zrill are moving on Artharan Prime, a council world that's unprepared for an assault. If they succeed, it'll send a message that the council is powerless. And you want the Erebus to send a different message, Carter said, her voice steady. Hayes nodded. Earth will not stand by while worlds burn. But this mission isn't just about defense. It's about proving what we're capable of. The council needs to see that humanity isn't a liability. We're an asset. Carter smirked faintly. Understood. The Erebus will depart immediately. The ship's engines hummed as it prepared to jump into hyperspace. The bridge buzzed with activity, the crew focused but tense. This would be the Erebus's first combat mission, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Carter stood at the center of the bridge, her gaze sweeping over her officers. Listen up, she said, her voice cutting through the noise. The Zrill think they can take what they want without consequence. They think humanity is weak. Today we prove them wrong. A chorus of affirmations followed, the crew's resolve solidifying. Prometheus spoke, its voice audible across the bridge. Captain, hyperspace coordinates locked. Estimated time to Art Heron Prime. 4 hours. Carter nodded. Engage. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the Erebus entered hyperspace. Carter stared at the view screen, her mind racing. The Council might not believe in humanity, but she'd make them see the truth. For hours later, the ship dropped out of hyperspace to a scene of chaos. Zrill warships filled the space above Art Heron Prime, bombarding its cities with ruthless efficiency. The Council's token defense force was in shambles, retreating in disarray. Carter's jaw tightened. All hands to battle stations. Prometheus, prepare targeting solutions. The Erebus surged forward, its weapons charging. Humanity's first step into the galactic stage was about to begin, and it would be marked by fire. The Erebus dropped out of hyperspace into a battlefield ablaze with chaos. Zrill warships swarmed above Art Heron Prime, their angular hulls bristling with weaponry. Plasma blasts streaked across the void, slamming into the planet's shimmering but faltering defense grid. The Council's meager fleet, a handful of lightly armed ships, was in full retreat. Status report, Captain Adrian Carter demanded, her voice cutting through the tension on the bridge. Prometheus, the ship's AI, responded instantly. The Zrill fleet comprises 27 vessels, including 3 heavy cruisers and 1 dreadnought. Art Heron Prime's planetary defenses are at 30% capacity and deteriorating rapidly. Estimated time until complete collapse. 15 minutes. Carter clenched her jaw. And the Council's fleet? For frigates retreating to high orbit. They've taken heavy losses and are unable to mount a counteroffensive. Carter glanced at her tactical officer, Commander Malik. They're abandoning the planet. Malik nodded grimly. Looks that way, Captain. Carter turned her attention to the battlefield displayed on the viewscreen. Not today, she said. Prometheus, target the nearest Zrill cruiser. Load railguns with armor-piercing rounds and prepare missile batteries for launch. Acknowledged, the AI replied. The Erebus surged forward, its engines roaring as it closed the distance to the Zrill fleet. The first volley of railgun fire tore through the void, striking a Zrill cruiser mid-turn. The kinetic rounds shredded its shields and punctured its hull, sending debris spiraling into space. The Zrill responded immediately. Their fleet shifted formation, and a swarm of fighter craft broke off, heading straight for the Erebus. Enemy fighters inbound, shouted Malik. Deploy point defense systems, Carter ordered. I want those fighters gone before they get within a kilometer. Autocannons mounted across the Erebus roared to life, unleashing a storm of tungsten rounds that shredded the incoming fighters. Explosions lit up the battlefield as the Zrill formation faltered. Carter seized the opportunity. Prometheus, bring us alongside that dreadnought. I want a clean shot at its weapons array. The Erebus maneuvered with precision, its advanced thrusters outpacing the heavier Zrill vessels. The dreadnought loomed ahead, its massive turrets swiveling to face them. Dreadnought charging primary weapon, Prometheus warned. Fire plasma torpedoes, Carter ordered. Twin streaks of blue energy erupted from the Erebus, slamming into the dreadnought's shields. The first torpedo destabilized the barrier. The second penetrated, striking the ship's weapon core. A massive explosion followed, splitting the dreadnought in two. Cheers erupted across the bridge, but Carter remained focused. Status: the Zrill fleet is retreating, Prometheus reported. Remaining vessels are jumping to hyperspace. Carter exhaled slowly, her shoulders relaxing slightly. Casualties? Minimal damage to the Erebus. Civilian losses on Art Heron Prime are significant, but planetary destruction has been averted. As the battlefield cleared, Carter stood at the center of the bridge, her gaze fixed on the planet below. Send a message to the Council, she said. Tell them Earth just saved one of their own. And tell the Zrill this. We're not afraid. The Galactic Council chamber was abuzz with tension. News of the Erebus's victory over the Zrill Dominion at Art Heron Prime had spread quickly. Some members applauded Earth's decisive action, while others condemned it as reckless. Ambassador Grant Hayes stood in the center of the chamber, calm and composed despite the hostility radiating from certain factions. High Chancellor Vorix, seated at the apex of the chamber, gestured for silence. Ambassador Hayes, Vorix began, his crystalline features dimmed with concern. While Earth's intervention saved countless lives on Artheron Prime, you acted without the Council's consent. This defiance undermines our authority. What do you have to say for yourself? Hayes straightened his posture, his voice unwavering. With all due respect, Chancellor, the Council's inaction left us no choice. The Zrill were slaughtering civilians. Humanity acted because we refused to stand by and let injustice prevail. Ambassador Threll of the Kyvax hissed, his reptilian eyes narrowing. Your refusal to stand by has painted a target on all our worlds. The Zrill's wrath will now fall upon the Council, and it will be humanity's fault. Hayes turned to face Threll, his voice sharp. The Zrill's aggression is their responsibility, not ours. If anything, Earth has shown them that their actions have consequences. Would you rather we all wait for them to pick us off one by one? Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates nodded in agreement, while others exchanged uneasy glances. A figure stepped forward from the shadows, their appearance concealed by a dark hood. Kale, a member of the enigmatic Thalos species, known for their neutrality and intelligence, spoke in a measured tone. The Erebus's actions were bold, but they reveal an uncomfortable truth. The Council has grown complacent. We rely on diplomacy while enemies like the Zrill grow stronger. Perhaps it is time we reconsider our approach. This statement caused an uproar, with voices clashing in heated debate. High Chancellor Vorix silenced them with a raised hand. Enough! The Council will deliberate on how to proceed. For now, Earth is warned. Further unilateral action will not be tolerated. Back aboard the Erebus, Captain Adrian Carter paced the bridge, her expression tense. Prometheus's voice broke the silence. Incoming message from Ambassador Hayes. Secure channel. Put it through, Carter said, halting mid-step. Hayes's face appeared on the view screen, his features weary but resolute. Captain, the Council is in disarray. We have allies, but the majority are still hesitant to act. Meanwhile, our intelligence confirms that the Zrill are massing their main fleet near the Calvin system. It's only a matter of time before they strike again. Carter's eyes narrowed. What's the plan? Hayes leaned closer, his voice low. We've been given unofficial support from Kale and their faction. They've provided intel on a Zrill staging ground in the Calvin system. If we can disrupt their supply lines, we might delay their offensive. Carter nodded, her resolve hardening. Understood. We'll move out immediately. As the Erebus prepared to jump to hyperspace, Carter addressed her crew. The Council may not trust us, but we're not doing this for them. We're doing this for every world the Zrill threaten. Humanity will not back down. The ship surged forward, its engines humming with power. The Erebus was heading into uncharted territory, but its crew carried the weight of a galaxy's hope and the will to fight. The Erebus dropped out of hyperspace into the Calvin system, its hull gleaming against the backdrop of a dying red star. Before it lay the largest Zrill fleet humanity had ever encountered, hundreds of warships arrayed in perfect formation. At the center of the armada loomed the Zrill flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons and energy shields that glowed like a second sun. Captain Adrian Carter stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen. Around her, the crew worked with quiet intensity. They knew the odds, but their resolve was unshaken. Prometheus, Carter said, her voice steady, give me a tactical assessment. The AI's voice responded immediately. The Zrill fleet comprises 317 vessels, including multiple heavy cruisers and one super dreadnought equipped with a planet-destroying weapon. They've detected us and are moving to intercept. Commander Malik turned to Carter. That's more firepower than we've ever faced. Suggestions? Carter's lips curved into a faint smile. We don't need to destroy them all. Just enough to make a point. The Erebus surged forward, firing its railguns with pinpoint accuracy. The first salvo struck a Zrill destroyer, punching through its shields and obliterating its engines. Missile batteries unleashed waves of guided projectiles, weaving through the enemy formation before detonating with surgical precision. Zrill fighters inbound, Prometheus reported. Deploy point defense systems, Carter ordered. And launch decoy drones. Keep them guessing. A swarm of autocannons and laser turrets came to life, shredding the incoming fighters. Meanwhile, holographic decoys mimicked the Erebus, sowing confusion among the Zrill ranks. The Zrill flagship began charging its main weapon, its energy output spiking on the Erebus's sensors. Prometheus, Carter said, her voice taut, analyze their firing sequence. How long do we have? Approximately 6 minutes until full charge, the AI replied. Carter turned to her crew. That's our window. Target their power generators and weapon systems. Full offensive capabilities. The Erebus darted through the battlefield, its advanced thrusters allowing it to outmaneuver the bulkier Zrill ships. Plasma torpedoes erupted from its launch bays, striking the flagship's shields in a dazzling cascade of energy. Enemy shields at 70%, Prometheus reported. Not good enough, Carter muttered. Focus all railguns on that shield array. We need a breach. The ship's railguns fired in unison, their kinetic rounds slamming into the flagship's shields with relentless force. The barrier flickered and then collapsed. Shield breach detected, Prometheus confirmed. Fire plasma torpedoes, Carter shouted. The torpedoes streaked toward the flagship, piercing its hull and detonating deep within. A chain reaction of explosions tore through the dreadnought, and its glowing weapon core destabilized. The Zrill fleet began to retreat, their formation collapsing as panic spread. The Erebus stood victorious, battered but unbroken. As the battlefield cleared, Carter addressed her crew. We came here to send a message. The Zrill thought humanity was weak. They thought they could break us. Today we proved them wrong. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Carter's gaze remained on the wreckage of the flagship. Prometheus, send a message to the council. The Erebus held the line. Now it's their turn to decide what kind of galaxy they want to live in. The Erebus turned toward home, its engines glowing brightly against the void. Humanity had roared, and the galaxy would never forget.